Dagens gjest AJ Dee, tidligere skuespiller på Filippinene. Nå har han startet et klesmerke for herrer her I Oslo. This podcast will be in English because AJ,
Yes.
you're a guy. You're a guy that has come to Norway. You came 2 or 3 years ago. Can you tell us?
3 years ago. So I moved here to Norway. Well,
yeah.
For a lot of people, same reason with a lot of people, for love.
For love.
Yeah, for love, definitely. So I have 2 kids, and so it was a moment for me to decide whether to stay in the Philippines or moved here to Norway. But I think it was one of the best decisions I've done. That it would be a better option, the best option actually for the kids to grow up here instead of the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a guy that you have done a lot of interesting stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Well, what do you do for a career? And what did you do for a career before you came to Norway?
Yeah. So for 13 years, I was into show business. And that's before I moved here to Norway. So I've been doing movies, TV series, theater plays. So that was my life before Norway.
Yes.
So it has been very interesting, very something that a lot of people would love to experience, to do.
Yeah.
And for 13 years, I was fortunate, I would say, to be able to, do something wherein you can express yourself, can be somebody. Every day you can be somebody else. It's very interesting, very complex, very, I would say, artistic.
Yeah.
So it was a good 13 years run. And now I'm here in Norway, doing a totally different life.
Yeah.
I would say this is actually my first time to work,
As a regular job.
Day job. And for some reason it's doing good. It wasn't that
big of a transition, maybe, or was it?
Well, definitely
really?
It was, but for some reason I didn't have that big of a challenge transitioning from show business to a day job. Well, I guess probably because I'm supported with my I get support from my family. In my I'm 37 years old now, and to be able to start a new chapter of one's life, it's something very exciting to do.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more of an experience, more of like having the opportunity to do a new chapter.
Yeah.
So it's something really good for one person to do.
But this is, you were a grown guy. You had a prosperous career, basically, by many standards in the Philippines. And, you changed your career. And can you tell us a little bit about the choices you made? Some must have been a little bit tough.
Yeah. Well, first, Norway is literally far from the Philippines.
Yeah.
So when I first met my wife, when we were still boyfriend and girlfriends, we had to do a long distance relationship, and then I asked her to live in the Philippines, and it worked for a year, and then she had to move back.
Yeah.
And then the scenario was like, every 6 months she goes to Norway, to the Philippines, and then stay there for a year, and then until we get our first child, and then that long distance relationship with the child, and then that didn't stop there. We got another one, so second child. So it got more challenging as we go along with our relationship. So that point, I'm doing some shows, and then I had to ask permission if I could travel to Norway because
Who did you ask for permission?
The network.
Network, yeah, because you were hired by a network.
Yeah, because I was doing a show that time, and I had to ask to, I'll only be able to work up to this month because my wife is she's having the child.
Yeah.
And so it's either you have to be killed in the story, or you have to be suddenly you're just gonna be go on a distant place, something like that.
So that's why you died in that episode.
No, actually.
Just kidding. I don't know. I haven't watched it. Yeah, I haven't seen.
You don't watch. Yeah.
I haven't watched any of your episodes before you came here. Actually, I met you. Actually, just a few months after you came to Norway.
That's true.
Yeah,
through another friend of ours.
Yes, that's true.
So it was really a tough move for me because I'm living the life in the Philippines and independent and you get to do a lot of things. Life in the Philippines is very different.
Yeah,
obviously compared to Norway.
Yeah, how is that different?
The convenience of everything. You have so many things to do after work. You can still go out every night. Things like that. There's always something going on in the Philippines, especially in Manila. So
because that's where you lived.
Yeah. And it's definitely more exciting, I would say.
Yeah.
But because I grew up being a family-oriented guy, so considering all of those things, I still go back to family comes first. We were brought up by my parents to take care of the family and be responsible. So it took me just a few months, and then I said, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna make the transition.
Yeah, F it, and then go move to Norway and be with my family. Yeah. So that was the turning point.
Yeah. Decided to move and.
Yeah, and especially Norway. You have to learn the language. So I took a Norwegian course for a year because that's part of the requirement. And I did it and I passed it and then started looking for a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Big transitions.
Yeah.
So,
but it was actually when I had a plan of moving here, I already kind of planned myself what to do because it's gonna be a totally different. I can't go to showbiz here because first there's a different language, and I'm not sure with the acting environment or community here.
Yeah.
So it's it's a bit hard for me as well. So I thought of starting a new career.
Yeah, as an actor here in Norway, maybe you considered it?
Yeah, but for a while, but it didn't last long.
Yeah.
So that's why I started my blog. Yeah. Even when I was still in the Philippines. So I did that because I knew that it was something that you can do in wherever you go. So I did that for a year there and then moved here with a blog, and it helped me,
Did you have vlog? Do you have the video blog?
No,
or is
just
it
the blog? So
on the
it's,
website?
the fashion blog.
Blog.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of a fashion guy, aren't you? When you're into fashion.
That was after acting.
Yeah,
that has become my passion. Next passion.
Your next passion.
Yeah.
The next chapter in a sense. Yeah. Can call it that. So okay. Question is, do you feel you're being creative today? Despite all the changes you made in your life.
Yeah, when I chose the career of doing your own blog, it definitely involves some creativity on that one, because you have to think about contents. You have to be able to see what's good or what's not when you're taking a picture. It's not just like you pose, you stand, and that's it. You have to see the composition and everything. I think that's creativity.
Yeah.
And for me, I have to constantly think on how to make sure that this photo or this post will be something that can attract people. Creativity I can't live without creativity.
Being creative is part of fashion. These fabrics don't make themselves, right? Can you tell us about you started something new?
Yeah.
And you started your own label.
Yeah. Yeah. So first I started working in this sartorial store here in Oslo, and then I really grew an interest in sartorial clothing. So you have the tailoring, you have the made to measure. So we deal with a lot of fabrics, measurements, things like that. So
that's interesting too.
It was very at that time it really caught my attention. And because when I started the blog, it was more of a style, so more of I'm targeting contemporary style, the more modern, and then I have the more gentleman, more, I would say, sartorial, until I finally decided to just focus on the sartorial classic menswear style. So that started why I thought of making my own brand, which is called St. James.
St. James. What's the website again?
No, website coming up, but not yet. But I have an Instagram account for that. And so for that St. James, I wanted to...
Which is Oslo-based, right? Here in Oslo. Yeah.
Oslo-based. And it's I'm focusing on the craftsmanship. I'm focusing on the quality of the garment. Because with the classic menswear, you deal with a lot of... you don't only think about the fabric, you also have to consider the construction of the suit. Okay. So that's basically what why suits are very expensive, or
because a lot of craftsmanship involved.
And how it was done, what's the material used, things like that. But also building that brand, I had to think of the design. I have to make my own house style. So those things I have to think on everything.
So you're sort of being creative in that sense still, right?
I mean, combining all the business side, marketing and everything.
Which is not creative, right? All that.
I guess that's a part of it. You're bounded with not rules, but more of the fundamentals on how to build a brand. But it's all connected. So I mean, I've learned that passion is not everything. Regardless if you have the best brand or suit or garment, if it's not being visible to people, then it's pointless. So you have to think of how to make this brand or your product or your service to be seen in the outside world. So that's part of it's going back to the being creative on how you'll be able to showcase it to the people. So
you have to invent new ways of reaching people, right?
Like making contents and things like that. So you have to be constantly thinking.
So your mind is always busy. Does your wife ever get tired of you being creative, or
she's very supportive.
It's amazing.
Like your wife.
I think that sometimes it's kind of hard to explain why you do what you do. I'm a photographer and a videographer, and sometimes it's hard to justify all the hours you put in. I understand why I do the things that I do. And you do the same. But it's kind of hard to, you constantly have to justify all the time that you put into it. It's like, I have to make a living, but still, that sacrifices time with your family, your kids.
I guess that's the struggle of every artist. In the beginning, you really have to, I would say, invest on time.
It's investing.
So you have to be able to create, and while creating a a good idea or concept, it takes time. So, in the beginning you sacrifice, and then when it gets successful, then that's where money comes in.
Yes.
But for the meantime, you just have to,
Yeah, because money is part of it. This it keeps the whole thing going.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it's really important to do something creative for myself.
Yeah.
But I want to do it over time.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing it, not just today. I want to keep doing it in 5 years, in 10 years. So obviously it's much easier if you make a living off being creative, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But if you're not that lucky, then you really have to just do the extra work. Spend some time with the money making career or thing, and then make sure. I mean, for any artist, any creative person, you can't take it away from them, from us.
Yeah,
we're always gonna make time for that part.
So why is it important for you to do something for you?
When you're used to the artistic type of job, it's very important that we have to be able to we have to achieve happiness, and happiness, I mean, is being creative.
Yeah, and expressing yourself maybe through any means. Or am I right or wrong? Or
expressing, not necessarily.
Do you express yourself through garments?
You have your personal touch, but not necessarily expressing myself. But because I have to consider also the culture, the surroundings, and everything. What's going to work in that area? What's going to work in?
Why is it important for you? You could have worked with something completely different.
Funny, because this is a true story. When after I finished Norwegian course, so it was time for me to look for a job, right?
Yeah.
So I gave myself like months, or let's say 1 month. I think I'll be able to find a job. And then because I like fashion, so I'm applying to different what you call this stores. Retail stores.
Retail stores.
And then weeks pass, months, and then I said, this is tough. Especially I'm not speaking the language.
Yeah.
Although I know that everyone can speak English here, so I thought it wasn't gonna be hard, but apparently it took me a while. And then I said, okay, just because I'm also pressured because I have my family and
that's a lot of pressure. If you come from a different country, you have a family, but you now 2 kids.
Yeah, and then should I still think about myself?
Yeah.
Because I need to work on something that I would love or I'd be happy to do.
Yeah.
Or just leave it, think about them, and just get a job, whatever it is. So I told my wife, give me 1 more month. And then I'm, for some reason, through Instagram, because I follow some fashion people from Norway, just to have a connection, to get the network going. So I follow this guy, and then we messaged each other. And then he invited me to have a dinner. So I said, yeah, sure. So we had a dinner. We had a nice conversation. And then he told me, I find you interesting. Let me talk to my my suit maker and then ask if they have an available spot for you. Yeah. And let's see. Huh? So I said, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I mean,
that was your way in a sense.
It was. Yeah. So after a few days, not less than a week, I got a call from this store that I applied to before, but didn't get any response. So when he called me and then, can you come here and for an interview? I said, yeah, sure. So I went there. 2 days, I got the job. So it was like, okay, this was, I don't know if it's a coincidence or it was just luck or what. Yeah. But I mean, networking and, this Instagram can really help you. Right? So just by that, and, it's so hard to get into the working environment, especially if you're what I consider immigrant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really helped me to be in the market of, working market. So now that I have to get another job, so it was easy because I'm already in the market.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you can put your foot in the door by actually doing that.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And it helped me because I can take pictures. I'm doing visual merchandising.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Instagram, social media for
really?
the company that I'm working for now. So yeah.
Wow.
So again, that's creativity because nobody can just handle the social media. It's a long journey, but this will mold you or guide you to find really what you want to do. Right? So photography, I started doing first landscape, hobby. I want to just take pictures of, and then street. I did sports. That's a totally different discipline as well. And then I did fashion. I had to learn lights and stuff. So, and then, now I was able to get all those knowledge, those, experience to help me, get where I am now.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a great story. It's a great story. So, can you give some advice on how to stay creative in your work?
Yeah,
how to keep going. Since a lot of people are discouraged when there's adversity.
Yeah, well, for everyone who are creative, they will always find time to have that time for themselves to think, to just wonder and being creative. For me, even when I go to work, just sitting in a bus and I train, those are the important times for you to wonder and then think, because it's always constant. The moment you're not doing anything, it starts. So that's given. You're gonna do whatever you have to do when it comes to being creative, but just make sure that, because there's also a thin line when doing things, because you might be doing a lot of things that you think will help you, will be a productive thing, but in reality, you're just wasting time. So, for me, this is just based on my experience, thinking or doing things, you have to make sure at least that this you're doing something that will produce results afterwards. Don't just wonder and think and that's it for the sake of just thinking. It has to, it has to happen. It has to.
You have to have a goal. You mean?
Yeah,
you have to have a goal.
Well, it starts with just wondering, right, or just thinking. But if you really want to do something, you just have to make it happen, and make sure that every single thing that you do is going to a path that can help you reach your goal. Yeah. Yeah. So,
any more tips you can give?
Preparation's not so much, because you just have to be more conscious about the time that you have. Like, let's say, basing on my experience again, every time I wake up, then drink my coffee. Whenever I have a bit of a free time, I read or I watch some motivational videos, educational, something that will help me, again, go get that destination of getting my goal.
So you read, you listen to...
I also listen to a lot of podcasts. That is interesting to my passion.
So you sort of work on your craft, basically.
Yeah,
on your off time.
On those off times. So it's very important that you constantly work on those, because
learning never stops.
Yeah, and we only have 24 hours a day, and it's not enough. Even though you won't sleep, it's still not enough. So, those small times, like even with lunch period, when you have a break at work, you watch something that will
even that
help you. Yeah.
That's a good advice. Thank you very much for coming, AJ.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
We all need it.
Yes.
Okay.